In the quiet little town of Abbeville, Alabama, there lingers a legend that has chilled the hearts of locals for generations. Her name is Huggin Molly, a towering, ghostly figure that wanders the streets at night, searching for her next victim. No one knows exactly who Molly once was. Some say she was a grieving mother who lost her child and never recovered from the heartbreak. Others whisper she was a woman murdered long ago, her restless spirit cursed to roam Abbeville's dark corners forever. Whatever her origin, one thing is certain: those who encounter her never forget. Witnesses describe her as unnaturally tall, nearly 10 feet high, dressed in long, black flowing garments that make her look like a shadow come to life. She is silent as she moves, her footsteps making no sound, as if she is gliding across the earth. But what makes her terrifying isn't just her appearance. It's what she does when she finds you. Huggin Molly doesn't simply appear and vanish. She approaches slowly, sometimes following her victim down an empty street, her presence heavy in the air. When she finally reaches them, she wraps her long, cold arms around their body, pulling them into a suffocating embrace. At first, it may feel like a hug, but quickly the warmth fades, replaced by a paralyzing chill that seeps into the bones. Victims describe being unable to breathe, as if the air itself is being stolen from their lungs. And then comes the scream. With her mouth close to the ear of her victim, Huggin Molly lets out a shriek so piercing, so unnatural that it rattles the soul. The sound isn't just loud, it's unbearable, echoing in the mind long after it ends. Some say the scream can cause fainting, others say it drives people nearly insane. Few dare to linger long enough to truly know. Parents in Abbeville often warn their children, "Don't stay out too late or Huggin Molly will find you." To outsiders, it sounds like nothing more than a bedtime story meant to scare kids into coming home before dark. But to those who have walked the lonely streets of Abbeville on a foggy night and felt the heavy chill of unseen eyes watching them, the legend is no laughing matter. One teenage boy once recalled his encounter after a party. Walking home past midnight, he noticed a tall shadow trailing him from across the street. At first, he thought it was just a trick of the streetlights, until he turned and saw her. Within moments, she was beside him, her arms crushing him in a deathly embrace, followed by a scream so violent it nearly burst his eardrums. He woke up hours later on his own doorstep, trembling and pale, and he has never walked alone at night again. Even today, the legend lives on. Abbeville has embraced Huggin, Molly's name. There's even a restaurant called Huggin Molly's, where visitors can eat and laugh about the story. But when the sun goes down, when the streets grow silent and the shadows stretch long, no one dares to test whether the legend is real. Because those who have felt the icy arms of Huggin Molly swear the same thing. She's not just a story, she is real. Abbeville, Alabama, to most, it's just a quiet, small southern town where life moves slowly and everyone knows everyone. But once the sun dips below the horizon, when the air grows heavy and the streets fall silent, Abbeville changes. For more than a century, this town has been haunted by a figure the locals call Huggin Molly, a nightmare that doesn't just frighten children, but terrifies grown men too. No one knows exactly when the legend began, but the stories are always the same. She appears at night. She is impossibly tall, her figure stretching to nearly 10 feet, dressed in long, dark clothing that flows like liquid shadow. Some claim her eyes glow faintly in the darkness. Others say her face is pale and hollow with lips that never move until she screams. But Molly isn't like other spirits. She doesn't haunt homes or graveyards. She hunts the streets. She waits for the lonely, the stragglers who wander too far from safety after dark. Children are her favorite, but anyone caught outside too late can feel her cold presence following behind them. The horror doesn't begin with her scream, it begins with her embrace. Imagine walking home down an empty street, the lamps barely glowing, the cicadas silent. You hear footsteps behind you, but when you stop, the sound stops too. Then, before you can run, two long, icy arms wrap around your chest. At first, you may think it's a person, but the hug tightens, so strong it's impossible to breathe. The warmth drains from your body, your blood feels frozen, and your heart pounds against your ribs as though it might burst. And then, with her mouth pressed against your ear, she screams. It's not the scream of a human. It's a shrill, inhuman shriek that tears through the night like shattered glass. Victims say the sound doesn't just enter your ears, it vibrates inside your skull, crawls into your mind and lingers for days. Some faint instantly. Some collapse, shaking uncontrollably. Others claim they can still hear the echo years later, every time they close their eyes. Parents in Abbeville use the legend to warn their children. Be home before dark, or Huggin Molly will hug you to death. But there are stories that suggest she is far more than a bedtime warning. One tale speaks of a young girl who vanished in the 1930s. Locals said she was last seen, playing outside after dusk, long after her parents had called her in. The next morning, she was found on the edge of the woods, unconscious, her face pale as snow. When she finally awoke, she could only whisper one thing, over and over. She hugged me. She hugged me. The girl never fully recovered and refused to leave her home after sundown for the rest of her life. Another story tells of two boys walking back from a football game. They laughed off the legend, daring each other to stay out past midnight. But only one boy made it home. The other was found hours later, trembling under a street lamp, his hands covering his ears, his skin ice cold to the touch. He never spoke about what happened, but his hair had turned white by the next morning. Even today, Huggin Molly remains a part of Abbeville's identity. Restaurants and shops playfully use her name, turning the horror into novelty. But beneath the laughter, beneath the jokes, there is fear, because the legend has never died. People still claim to see her tall, shadowy figure drifting through the streets when the fog rolls in at night. Some say Molly is cursed to roam forever, searching for the children she lost in life. Others believe she is a demon that feeds on fear, disguised in the form of a grieving mother. But one truth binds all the stories together. If you walk alone in Abbeville after dark, if you feel arms around you when no one is there, if your ears begin to ring with a scream that chills your soul, it's already too late. Huggin Molly has found you, and once she hugs you, she never lets go. Abbeville, Alabama, a town that looks ordinary by day, but once night falls, the shadows here carry secrets darker than anyone dares to admit. At the center of those secrets is a legend so terrifying, it has been whispered for more than 100 years. The legend of Huggin Molly. They say she comes when the streets are empty, when the night air grows unnaturally still. Children are warned not to wander after dark, but even adults have felt her presence. No matter who you are, once Huggin Molly chooses you, there's no escape. Locals describe her as impossibly tall, almost monstrous, her figure draped in a long, black gown that brushes against the ground as she glides. Her eyes, if you ever see them, are hollow, like two burning pits of sorrow. Some swear her face is twisted with grief, as though she's forever searching for something she lost. Others say she has no face at all, just an endless void where her features should be. But her true terror lies not in her appearance, but in her embrace. When Huggin Molly finds you, she does not strike. She does not chase. Instead, she comes silently until you feel her cold presence just inches away. And then, before you realize, her arms are around you. Her hug is suffocating, stronger than iron chains. Victims describe the sensation as though life itself is being drained from their bodies. The warmth fades, breath falters, muscles lock. You can't move, you can't scream, you can't fight. You are trapped in the arms of something that should not exist. And then, with her lips pressed against your ear, comes the sound. Not the scream of a human, but a piercing, hellish wail that shreds the silence of night. Survivors say the scream feels endless, like knives scraping against bone, like glass exploding inside your skull. One man claimed he could feel his eardrums tearing. Another said his vision went black instantly, as if the scream itself had stolen the light from the world. Many of the stories are old, passed down through generations, but they all follow the same pattern. The boy from 1915. A young boy dared to walk home after midnight. His body was found at dawn, slumped against a lamppost, his skin icy to the touch. The coroner could find no wounds, no illness, no cause of death. Only his face remained twisted in terror, his mouth frozen mid-scream. The mother of 1947, a woman returning from church late at night, claimed she felt someone hugging her from behind. She fainted instantly. When neighbors found her, she could barely speak, only whispering. She wouldn't let go. For weeks afterward, she refused to sleep in her own home, terrified Molly would return. The teenagers of 1973, two friends leaving a football game, boasted they weren't afraid of the legend. They cut through a back alley on their way home. Only one came back. The other was discovered hours later, curled into a ball, hands clamped over his ears. His hair shock white, though he was only 17. Some say Molly was once a grieving mother who lost her child in a tragic accident. Her sorrow was so unbearable that her spirit rose again, cursed to wander the earth, forever seeking the warmth of a child's embrace. But her grief twisted into something darker, so instead of comforting, her embrace destroys. Others whisper that Molly was no woman at all, but a demon that chose Abbeville as its hunting ground. Disguised as a motherly figure, she preys on innocence and fear, drawing strength from the screams of her victims. Even today, parents in Abbeville continue to warn their children, be home before dark, or Huggin Molly will hug you, and you'll never come back. Visitors often laugh at the legend, treating it as nothing more than folklore. There's even a diner named Huggin Molly's, where tourists buy souvenirs and eat burgers beneath murals of the infamous ghost. But once night falls, when the streets are deserted and the fog begins to roll in, the laughter fades. Locals walk faster. Doors are locked. Curtains are drawn, because the truth is whispered in hushed tones. Molly still roams, and if you are ever in Abbeville, walking alone at night, and you feel arms suddenly wrap around you, arms that are far too strong, far too cold, don't wait to hear the scream, because by then it's already too late. Huggin Molly has you, and she never lets go. The legend of Huggin Molly has never faded. In Abbeville, her shadow still lingers. The townspeople may smile, may laugh, may turn her name into a restaurant. But when the night falls and the streets grow empty, the fear returns. Because no matter how many years pass, the stories remain the same. A tall figure dressed in black, arms that hold too tightly, a scream that tears into your soul. Some say it's only a tale to keep children safe, but the ones who have felt her icy embrace, the ones who wake in the night, clutching their ears as echoes of that scream return, they know the truth. If you ever find yourself in Abbeville after dark, remember this: don't walk alone. Don't wander the empty streets. And if you feel someone behind you, if cold arms wrap around your body, pray it isn't her. Because once Huggin Molly hugs you, you will never escape.